it gives new hopes to patients. And I think that now it is our responsibility to work on those medical devices and get approval so that actually they will enable those novel treatments to be available to patients.
Welcome to Curing with Sound, a podcast presented by the Focus Ultrasound Foundation. I'm your host, Allison Preston Smith. In this episode of Curing with Sound, we're joined by Dr. Jean-François Aubry, Director of Research at France's National Center for Scientific Research and Scientific Director of the Focus Ultrasound Foundation's Center of Excellence at Physics for Medicine, Paris. He's also the co-founder of Sonomind, a company dedicated to advancing ultrasonic brain stimulation. Dr. Aubry's work explores how focus ultrasound can safely and precisely interact with the brain, opening new possibilities for treating neurological conditions such as epilepsy and depression. With more than 100 scientific publications and 7 patents on adaptive focusing, he continues to lead innovations that are transforming our understanding of the brain and the potential of sound in medicine. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Aubry.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
How did you first learn about focus ultrasound, and what made you interested in incorporating it into your research?
I heard about focused ultrasound a long time ago, in 1999, when I was looking for a PhD. And my PhD advisor, Matthias Fink, proposed me to work on a scientific challenge, focusing ultrasound waves through the human skull. I have to say that back in 1999, almost everyone thought that the human skull was an impenetrable barrier to ultrasound. And I was fascinated by this very high-risk project. And now that we demonstrated ways to focus ultrasound waves through the skull with a millimetric precision, I would say that I'm still fascinated by the numerous ways ultrasound can interact with brain tissues and by all the medical conditions that we could treat with ultrasound.
Your research focuses on neurostimulation. For listeners who may not be familiar, can you explain what neurostimulation is and how it's used in research and treatment for certain conditions?
So neurostimulation is the modulation of brain activity. It has been used in research to better understand how the brain works and how different parts of the brain interact with each other. For example, different regions in the brain are interconnected to coordinate actions, like guiding motor skills using visual information. In research, we can, for example, modulate the activity of subregions in the motor cortex and see how those regions affect the movement of the arm when we see an object that we would like to grab. Neurostimulation is also used clinically. It is used to induce therapeutic modulation of dysfunctional neural circuitry. For example, it is used to stimulate the thalamus for the treatment of Parkinsonian tremor. And we use different techniques to modulate brain activity in clinics. The most well-known are deep brain stimulation, or DBS, or transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. And now I would say that transcranial ultrasound stimulation, or TUS, is the new kid on the block.
What makes it different from deep brain stimulation or transcranial magnetic stimulation?
Deep brain stimulation requires to implant a needle electrode at the stimulation site. So in a sense, we can say that it's a pacemaker of the brain. It is very precise. It can modulate very deep-seated tissues, but it is invasive. We need to introduce the electrode. Transcranial magnetic stimulation is non-invasive. It uses electromagnetic waves to modulate brain activity, but it can only stimulate the outer surface of the brain, not deep-seated areas. And so ultrasound stimulation offers the best of both techniques. It allows to stimulate very precisely deep-seated structures in the brain, completely non-invasively. And it is important because deep-seated areas are involved in many diseases. In the thalamus for Parkinsonian tremor and essential tremor, or, for example, the subcallosal cingulate for depression, and many more, of course.
One of your recent studies on treatment-resistant depression helped identify behavior-specific regions of the brain using focused ultrasound. Can you tell us more about that work and what it could mean for future treatments?
Sure. We conducted a clinical study recently on 5 patients suffering from drug-resistant depression. We targeted the subcallosal cingulate. It is a hub in the brain that is known to process emotions. So that's the reason why we believe it would be important to stimulate this area. The patients were stimulated 5 times per day during 5 days with ultrasound. It's important to point out that this was a safety study only. So we do not want to speculate too much about the efficacy of the treatment, but it was very encouraging to observe that at the end of the 5 days of the treatment, 80% of the patients qualified as responders, and 2 patients were even in remission. So it means that according to psychological evaluation, they were not classified as depressed patients anymore. Now, of course, we need to replicate the study on a larger number of patients and compare to placebo control, but it was a very promising study for future treatments.
Yeah, those are incredible results. Is there any reason you wanted to study treatment-resistant depression?
First of all, there was a very strong medical need. And many people, including myself, have people in their family affected by depression. And I would say drug-resistant depression and severe depression. And unfortunately, in case of severe depression, 30% of the patients are drug-resistant, which is a huge number of patients. And currently, there is no, I would say, efficient alternative to drugs, or at least not easy to access to. And so there was a very strong medical need.
So what would be next in terms of the study? You said you're hoping to open it to a wider population. Would it be another safety study, or would it be looking at something else?
I think it was, of course, we will continue to follow the safety of the treatments, but this will not be the primary goal of the next studies, especially because the safety was very good, and especially the tolerance was exceptional, I would say. Currently, TMS treatments, for example, are almost painful. Actually, the electromagnetic waves contract the muscles, and it makes a lot of noise. So, having series of stimulations with TMS is not pleasant, definitely. So a patient need to go through this to get some efficiency, but it's not easy to do and not easy to handle. Here, in our case, the patient did not notice any pain during the treatment. They were, just calm and having the treatment. They did not feel anything in terms of ultrasound. Only some fatigue, but fatigue is it's a side effect, but it's known for TMS to be a sign that the treatment is actually taking place, that it's efficient. So to us, it was a good sign that those patients got some fatigue after the ultrasound stimulation. So we will continue to follow the safety. What we need now is to have enough evidence using the device that it is efficient on a larger cohort of patients. And of course, to us, future steps is to make the technology available to many patients. And for this, we can continue to work with lab prototypes. So that's the reason why we created a company, Sonomind, in order to commercialize a device and to actually build a medical device.
How close do you think we are to using focused ultrasound as a clinical therapy for depression?
I would say 2 to 3 years. What will take time is to get approval so to get the CE approval and FDA approval to actually be able to provide those devices to hospitals and clinics. Basically, I would not change much the device itself. So now what we need is to go through all the authorizations to commercialize the device, and typically that's what it takes, 2 to 3 years.
You co-founded the company Sonamind to build and commercialize the focus ultrasound device used in the depression study that we've been discussing. Are there other diseases or conditions that you're interested in investigating?
Yes, Sonamind is specialized in psychiatric conditions, not only depression, but also others like schizophrenia or addiction. But in the lab, we also investigate other possibilities to use neurostimulation for other diseases, like movement disorders, for example, or epilepsy. That's also another area of interest with this technology. Actually, the fact that we have this technology opens avenues for doctors, and we would like to help them investigate to what extent we can use this technology also for various diseases. The key point here is that now we are able to, for the first time, thanks to ultrasound, to stimulate deep-seated areas of the brain with a millimetric precision, non-invasively. So this has a huge number of applications. And of course, we won't be able to investigate them all by yourselves, but many teams also around the world are also trying currently to use ultrasound stimulation for many diseases. And there are a couple of interests for us that we will pursue. And it's fascinating to see the ultrasound stimulation booming all over the world currently.
The Paris Center of Excellence is one of the leading hubs for focus ultrasound research in Europe. How has this collaboration with the Focus Ultrasound Foundation helped accelerate the work being done there?
Well, actually, the Focus Ultrasound Foundation was instrumental in accelerating the translation or discoveries to the patients. And it's important to highlight a major difference between the FUS Foundation and our institutional founders. The FUS Foundation is much more nimble, it's a small organization, and it can make decisions much faster. And so it acts like a booster. And so to us, it gave us the means to go much faster to the patients.
You've been in this field for many years and you've seen enormous progress. What discoveries have surprised you the most?
Probably, that ultrasound for brain therapy can be used for many indications. We can use to ablate tissues. So it's ultrasound neurosurgery. We can also deliver drugs by opening the blood-brain barrier, and we can also perform ultrasound stimulation. And I think that the emergence of ultrasound stimulation is what surprised me most. And it was very promising since the beginning, but the accumulation of preclinical evidence, the first clinical proof of concept all this was done in less than a decade. It was impressive to see ultrasound stimulation blooming all over the world and being more and more adopted and studied. Maybe in terms of, I would say, surprise and discoveries, on a more personal note, it literally blew my mind when I first saw the tremor of a patient that literally vanished after using low-intensity ultrasound stimulation. And this was a world premiere, and we could feel so much passion and excitement in the MR room. We could see that everyone realized at the same time that we were witnessing something extraordinary that never happened before. And I still have goosebumps when I remember the second I realized what was happening on the real-time display of the tremor, seeing the tremor almost vanishing. We were expecting the tremor to decrease maybe by 10%, not to decrease by more than 98%. It was stunning to us, and we suddenly realized that this would have a long-lasting impact in the way we can offer new treatments of care for patients.
What excites you the most about focused ultrasound?
It's very versatile. You can use it to open the blood-brain barrier, deliver drugs, ablate tissues, modulate brain activity. There are so many things we can do. And by the way, many more that are currently being investigated by many teams in the world. The thing is, I think it's important to explore all the possible applications.
And how can listeners keep up with your work?
I'm findable on social media, of course. LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active. I would also recommend listeners to follow Sonomine's LinkedIn account, where they provide lots of information. And also the LinkedIn account of Physics for Medicine Paris, my lab, if they wish to keep up with all the groundbreaking research that we do, not only on ultrasound brain therapy, but also on ultrasound brain imaging.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Aubry. It's been so great talking with you and learning more about your research using focused ultrasound.
Thank you. My pleasure.
This episode of Curing with Sound has been presented by the Focus Ultrasound Foundation. If you'd like to learn more about Focus Ultrasound or the Foundation, visit our website at fusfoundation.org. You can also sign up for our newsletter and follow us on social media. Be sure to subscribe to the Curing with Sound podcast so you don't miss the latest information about Focus Ultrasound. You can also rate and review the show.